Do you want to know more about numbers 6 and 8? Do you want to know more about the word pig, which is actually the title of my book? Do you want to know more about Jewish history? Because if you do, then this video is for you. And I will start with a little bit of a story as usual. So the way I have learned that I have lived all my life in a Jewish town was because I have learned from my best friend that the first transportation of Jewish people to the death camp in Auschwitz took place from Tarnów, and I didn't know about it. So, I also have learned when reading Adam Bartosz's book that in Jewish cemetery there is a stone with an inscription saying, "And the sun was shining shamelessly." And that cemetery stands by Hospital Street, and one of the adjacent streets is Sunny Street. So I wrote a lot in my book about the sun, and my father was killed because he didn't see the sign, but I believe it was connected with a similar event of the man Ron who killed maybe not kill, hit with the car a woman with a child because he didn't see the sun. I believe these two events are related to each other with those two sentences. And I believe that the way my father died is a dialogue with me. And I believe the way Jewish people were killed during Holocaust is a dialogue with the way they lived their lives. So, they were starved, and this is a dialogue of their practice of fasting, and they were gassed and suffocated, and that is a dialogue with their practice of meditation. So meditation helps you develop your intuition and your extrasensory perception. And when I started to meditate, I also started to suffocate, and my of course it wasn't anything that would require some emergency, but my dad, the way my dad died, in the final result was he was disconnected from the machines, and we were told he wasn't breathing on his own. So my understanding is the way my father died was that he suffocated. So I started to read more and learn more about Jewish people from my own memories, and also through Adam Bartosz's book later on. So it actually starts with the symbolism, with number 8, with discovering something called some field of science called numerology. And whenever I felt a little bit down or just down, then I would go and see phones saying angel number 888, or number 888, and its meaning explained. So most of the time they will speak about the thing that it's a very positive number that speaks about abundance and some good luck, But when I started to read about Jewish history, I have learned that, in their history, those numbers started to gain a totally different meaning, because I have learned that 800 children were taken from the orphanage in Tarnów to Zbytowska Góra, and they were shot over there in the forest. And, I worked in Zbytowska Góra, and I didn't know that. That's also the reason why I'm telling you. And during the Second World War, Jewish people were forced to wear armbands, which were typically yellow, and they had to have a diameter of 8 centimeters, and the motion that they had to wear such armband was introduced or issued on 18th of November 1939. So, from the book I also have learned that from the 18th century diary, Jewish people were kept in pig barns, and that was a punishment for them. Or you could read that this pig bought from a Jew, or from a building, from a house that was later made into a museum in Dąbrowa Tarnowska. You could read an inscription saying Jew the pig. And when it comes to pigs, actually, that was my another link, another connection, because when writing my MA thesis, I have been writing about vulgar tongue, but a lot of the times I would came across anecdotes, and I would came across some funny utterances regarding pigs, and I was even wondering if I shouldn't write about pigs instead of this vulgar tongue, And why is this relevant? Because when you work with writing on a project, or when you paint, or when you draw, this is your subconscious speaking, talking about something, expressing itself, and it's got some meaning in it that you can decode. So if you do any form of design, then you can read that too. And very lately I have learned that both of my grandpas had to do something with pigs. So one of the grandpas had 100 of pigs, and the other grandpa worked in a place where he had to cut pigs. And this was very unusual for me to learn because for most of my life I didn't know what they did professionally. Like, I didn't even know, at least 3 of my uncles, what did they do professionally, and I still don't know. So basically my impression is that there is a tendency to keep people very, very separated and disconnected from relations, very isolated and alone. And there is more with regard to number 6. So my dad's family house was number 6, and I used to live in a block of flats number 6 for a very long time. And my dad was hit by a car on the 26th of January. I know I told you so, but he was hit by a car at 6 o'clock. And then we had a 6-year-old boy who fell off the door frame. He was 6 years old. And also, I was coming back from London on the 26th of January because I was forced to do so. And then I was typing all the time when buying the ticket. I couldn't buy the ticket easily, so I was typing all the time 26, the date of the ticket. And I have learned that my expiry date on my ID is also 26. So I got back, and then I learned from my rabbi that something bad happened in his country. That was also 26th of January. Someone who is a pedophile was born on the 26th, and I think there is one yet more person who is being shaped into a pedophile, and they were born on 26th too, on the 26th day of the month. So definitely for me, numerology is the science that is widely explored by witches. It is applied by witches, and I believe that Holocaust is the result of the use of covert hypnosis on the German people to make the murderers out of them. and it's the use of covert hypnosis on Jewish people to make victims out of them. And when you look around and you look at all those dialogues and all that symbolism, and you see that I'm Gypsy and I live in Tarnów, and I can point a lot of people I know who live in the city center of Tarnów and who are Gypsy too. And and I can show you a lot of Gypsy restaurants in the main square too. So yeah. What else do I want to tell you? If you want to learn more about Jewish history, about numbers 6, 8, then please drop me a line by lkinga788@gmail.com. And if you want to buy my course Amelia, and you want to learn more about manipulation, also covert hypnosis, mind games, and shaping people into people who have no boundaries to say no to sexual abuse and to speak about sexual abuse